Welcome back to another episode of the Boss Juice podcast. Today we have guest Bill Sarris, owner of Sarris Candies. Bill, I have to ask, what candy was so bad that it made your father want to start a candy empire here?
You know what? There was a small company there at the time, and he bought my mom a box of candy. Thought, "Oh, this is great." He opened it up, and he was embarrassed and said, "You know what? I got to check into this. There's something I can do this better." And he went out and did a lot of homework, did a lot of research, and found a few people to help him out. And that's what started putting him in that direction. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that is, because, we were talking before the show, and it's like, kind of listening to your story, and it's, your father has an incredible story, so do you. But to kind of start something on a whim, or just like have like that inspiration, like it's almost like he knew, hey, this is I have to do this, there's a need for this. And I think that's incredible. And what it's become is amazing.
It's behind me, there's his picture, but underneath his picture is his first paycheck from the RCA where he worked.
Wow.
And that's, it's framed behind me, and just, my mom says, put that up so you know.
Yeah.
You know where it started and why he left. So that you got to give him credit. It took a lot of guts to go do that.
100%.
Start with nothing.
100%, yeah. And so where did he work before starting Sarris Candies?
He worked at RCA.
RCA?
Yeah.
And what was his like trade?
Just a warehouse worker. He never graduated high school. Okay. And that's something that really bothered him, because education to him was really important. Okay. Kids get an education. They need that. He didn't have that. He went to school. He didn't have that luxury to graduate. So he always felt like he had to prove himself no matter what he did. So he went after it.
Yeah. And how did he kind of formulate a team around him to help grow this business? Because, you kind of said he didn't graduate high school, correct?
Right.
And so, I'm sure he was very intelligent, but to have a kind of background where you didn't necessarily know business or how business worked, and he grew a fantastic company. Like, to me, that's incredible, because like that is just truly shooting from the hip and learning as you go.
Well, he started in the basement, and at the time you could literally go buy a block of chocolate, so, that was in the in the 60s, 1960 kind of, we call that's a start date, but it was in the basement of our home. He went out and bought a little marble table, small one, a little marble table, a chocolate melter that could melt chocolate, and basically sat there and did things by hand. In fact, when we were there, I'd walk downstairs. He says, "Come on, you're going to help me. You're going to make bunnies." And at the time there were little metal molds, and you held the mold underneath the spout of the melter, and you filled the mold, and you put it on a little stand and put it in a refrigerator. And he used to tell me, "Hey, you know what?" I said, "I want to go sled ride." He says, "Well, you have to make 10 bunnies first." Well, there was only one mold. Okay, it took 20 minutes to make one mold. There was no way I was going sled ride, But you know what we did? We helped. We actually lived with my mom's mother and dad.
Really?
Okay, for years. And we lived in the house right next to, actually right where we're standing, right where we're sitting right now, was the place where I grew up. And when the time came, we had that little extra piece of property. That's when we built the first candy store.
Oh, okay.
That we actually went in and opened the doors. We're selling candy in the store, other than in the basement.
Gotcha. So, well, I'm sorry. This location right here, this is like your childhood home where you grew up? Or?
Yeah.
No, I did not know
Yes.
that. That's incredible.
Yes. If you walked in the front of the candy store, that was roughly 30 feet wide by, I think it was like 95 feet. Wow. So that was the little building with the candy store. As you walk in, That's the original. And as we grew, we built something on the left, we built something on the right, and we kept building here on this block. Never thinking that we were going to grow like we did. You know, back then, if we were smarter, okay, we would have bought a piece of property where we had room to expand. But you know, you don't know that stuff like that's going to happen. You keep working. You're happy. You're hiring a few people, you know, but it was my dad and my mom still worked at another place. So, you know, it was just him, and my grandfather helped. Myself as a kid, you know, it was always working. I always worked. You know what? It was fun. I liked working. So, you know, slowly but surely, you know, it was going, oh, we need to hire somebody. So you hire one person. Okay, you say, you know what? We can't do this by hand anymore. There was a lady, her name was Mrs. Kaufman. Never knew her first name. You called her Mrs. Kaufman. Okay, she worked at a candy store in Pittsburgh at the time. There were a few, okay, but my dad was a great salesman. So he says, come on, you can come and work for me. And she did. And she hand dipped. She taught me how to hand dip chocolate. You know, you just don't dip chocolate, melt it, and do it. There's a technique, a process, especially if you're doing it by hand. So she taught me that. My dad knew how. So, you know, I learned how to dip every single piece of candy. Okay, and by learning that, that's why I went to my dad and says, we're crazy. Okay, there's machines that we can buy that can coat this chocolate. I says, Mrs. Kaufman's getting old.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not going to sit here and do this. Okay, we're selling stuff. We have to move.
Yeah.
You know, we got it. So we went and bought what they call an enrober, a chocolate coating line.
Okay.
And it was, oh my goodness, that was great. But then there's always a but. So when you had the chocolate and you're coating it, you had to put a little decoration on top. That was done by hand. Okay. So we had to sit there while the chocolate's coming down, and you decorated. You put an R on the raspberry creams. You put a V on the vanilla creams, so you knew what the candy was. Again, after that, you know, this was all me. After that, I said, no, Dad, there's a machine that we can buy that'll decorate this candy. He says, but nobody's going to know what it is. I said, it's even better. If they don't like it, they just throw that one away and they go to the next one, or they punch the bottom, you know, but we can't sit here and do this. And that seems like all our growth, that seems to be what ended up happening. You know, you'd make creams, okay, vanilla creams, and there was a machine that we had that, you know, would slowly drop it, and you had to put it on paper and put it on a tray. Then you take the tray and put it aside. Okay, then they sat there, and then you put it down the coating line. Again, there's a machine over here that we can get. It'll do it all automatically.
Right.
With 3 people, don't have to stand here. You know, it said, you know, let's buy that. All right, we'll buy the machine. At the time, a machine like that cost like $25,000. That was a lot. That same machine right now is about $400,000. Wow. Just to give you an idea, okay, things, you know, how things like that have changed. But, you know, that was our growth. Okay, we did that. Now, you couldn't grow without selling stuff, so we were selling in our store. And it was great because we closed in the summertime. For some reason, candy people closed their stores in the summertime. It was too hot for candy, you know, and they said, oh, they closed. So we golfed.
Hey, that's not a bad summer.
No.
Making candy
Yeah,
and then golfing?
you know what? Yeah, we golfed. And it was, you know, it was great. You had summer and say, okay, we're going to open up again August 1st. That's when we're going to open. And eventually, you know, we said, why? Let's stay open. People want to come in. So, you know, as we grew and the candy store stayed open. Back then, all the candy people, I call them candy people because they were all friends. I can go name them. There were 5, 6 in the Pittsburgh area. all within, 50 miles that they were close, but all over the country, the organization, vacationed together, partied together. We're all friends. That generation, my dad's generation. Well, anybody that was in the candy business didn't want their kid to go in the candy business. You're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a lawyer. Okay, you're not going to make candy like I am. This is too hard work. So you're going to go be a doctor or lawyer. Okay, I'll go be a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor.
So how did you get involved then? And I mean, you worked there.
I worked from there, but eventually, I went to the Washington Jefferson College over here and came out of college and said, you know what? I don't want to go on anywhere else. Let's expanding into fundraising.
Okay.
So we put a little program together. We went to schools. Again, my dad was a really good salesman. I'm not a good salesman. I know that. I can close a deal, okay, when it comes to the final thing, but I'm not a good sales guy. Okay, but he was. He could go to places and he'd come out and said, okay, that school's going to sell. They're going to do this. I was the guy in the background. Okay, I could make stuff. I could operate stuff, and do that. And that's really, started growing. And we built that fundraising program, which drove production. And it was twice a year, Christmas and Easter. So it was great. Again, you could you expanded because we needed more production all at once. Okay, we produced, Christmas time and Easter time, and in between was not so much. Okay, but that was part of the growth that we had that really built it. And when you think about fundraising, you go to a school, there's 100 kids selling. Okay, well, each kid you say, hey, you got to sell make 15 sales. 100 kids, 15 sales each. That's how many people got chocolate in their hands. Okay, fundraising is obligatory sales. Okay, and it's different now. But before, the kids could walk down the street. Yeah. The kids could knock on your door and go, hey, can you buy something? It's the neighbor's kid. What are you going to say? No.
Yeah,
you bought
brilliant.
Something. You were obligated regardless. Well, what happens was our product was good. We made a top quality product. So the next year, that same school sold again. Their sales just kept growing because people wanted the product. The only place you could get it was fundraising and here in our store. So, fundraising drove it, and our retail business grew because in between, people still wanted candy.
Right.
So,
well, those are your silent salespeople, really.
Yeah.
They're beating the streets.
And those are the people that grew up
right.
with our chocolates. Mm-hmm. It's like mom's spaghetti. I don't care. Everything's compared to mom's spaghetti.
Yeah,
I don't care how bad it is. That's it. So when you have a product like we had, and that was key. Okay. And that was my dad's thing. Says we're making the best thing we could make. It was so bad at times when we made fruit nut egg a batch of fruit nut eggs. It bombed. He says, where are we going? He says, come here, get a shovel. What the hell are you doing? He says, we're going to dig a hole. I got to bury this in the yard. I said, throw it away. He says, I don't want the garbage man to know that I made a mistake.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Because we knew you knew everybody. We knew the garbage man went to our church.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to say, oh, look, they made some bad stuff. They threw it away. We buried it.
Yeah. Those are incredible things that you don't even think about. I want to step backwards just a minute. And because you said with your dad being a hardworking guy, sounded like, with your mom, he handed over an embarrassing box of chocolates and then decides he wants to go this route and he learns, right? So when did he decide that he could make a go of this? You said he was a really good salesperson too. When did he decide that, hey, this is actually something that can be?
Well, he was practicing in this home, and what he would make, he'd take it to RCA, to his fellow employees, and say, "Hey, try this, buy this. Okay, I'm making candy over here." Again, sales guy. Okay. You know, he could convince people or give them, and he started selling stuff. Eventually, you know, and then he'd go to the local clubs, you know, the Elks Club, the Moose Club, places like that would have Christmas parties for kids and things like that, and say, hey, you know, how about candy for the kids? We can make candy for the kids. So he sold these different groups or different things. He sold. Okay, he was making it and he sold. So eventually, I guess, the people from RCA says, hey, you got to make the call. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're either going to do this or you're going to go do that. And it was actually there was a little, I call them little old ladies at the time. I was young. She was a little old lady that worked with my dad, and she always said, I was the one that convinced your dad to quit RCA and go in the candy business. Wow. You know, and but eventually, you know, he had to pull the trigger. Yeah. You know, and he did.
That's a hard decision too, because when you're when you're receiving a paycheck, and all of a sudden you jump off that diving board into this new world, even though he was comfortable, it seemed like. And I think one of the really cool things is too, he had a great test market. Imagine how excited his coworkers were at the time when he's bringing in different samples to try, and then go from there.
Yeah, I have no idea what it would be like to start from scratch, and to have that. I don't know what do you call it? Something clicks and just says, you know what? I really don't have anything right now. What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
I can go back and work somewhere else.
And that's an interesting point, actually, because I like to kind of chat about that a bit, because, you know, your father started this business, and he, you know, you worked with him over time, and he kind of grew it to, you know, a successful candy business, and then you came in and took it over. How was that transition period? You know, did you find that hard? Did you find that there were things that your father knew in the trade that you didn't really understand as well? You know, was he a good mentor to you? Like, how was that transition period?
You know, we grew up working together. Every time I was at college, I'd come home on the weekends or whatever, and I'd help and do that, you know, as the business grew and you came into the business. We fought every day about something. Who knows what the hell we were fighting about. Right. But when we were done, it was a simple answer. They'd go, oh, did you go golfing this weekend? Or you ready for a coffee? That ended our little whatever it was. And it was just, hey, we should be doing this, and we should be doing that. I don't want to do that. I don't think we should do that. What he gave me, and this is a key for anybody, he gave me the opportunity to make a mistake. Okay? I didn't have to worry about a paycheck, where it's coming from. You know, if I would said, hey, we're going to buy this machine, it's $100,000. He never said yes. Never. He always said, his words were, we'll see. That meant, go ahead. He never said no, but he never said yes either. Hey, should we do this? Yeah, we'll see. My mother laughs when I say that, okay? You know, because that was him. He said that all the time. But that's because he never said no. That's the opportunity that I had as coming in as a son, coming into the business, okay? Did I have to prove myself? No. No, there was nothing like that. It wasn't competition. It was growth. It was opportunities. You know, I see an opportunity, and my first thing was, hey, go talk to those people, go sell.
Right.
Yep.
Okay? He was the guy. Okay? I always said he was our Colonel Sanders. Okay? He was the face.
I like that.
Okay? Not me. Okay? I in the background. It was at my dad's funeral, and this is something that stuck with me. People were coming in to visit, and these people would come by and go, hey, really sorry about it. You know, thank you. He said, maybe you need to go into the business and help your mom out. I've been in the business for 25 years. People didn't even know I was there, which I liked.
Yeah.
But that was the comments that I would get in there because he was the front man.
That's an important thing too, because there's something about being aloof in certain instances, because you said you're the great closer. You could close a deal, and he was the face. Now all of a sudden it feels like, to me, you've got to become a lot of other moving pieces.
And you do.
Yeah.
Okay. When you don't have a choice to do something,
Right.
okay, you go do it. But when somebody sets the standard, it's easy. It's easy to follow in those footsteps if you use it. Okay. I don't want to be the face. He was the face. He'll always be the face. And you want to keep it that way. Okay. Not me. I'll do everything else. We'll do that, manage. But can I go sell? Sure, I can. Okay. Do I knock on doors? Sure. Okay. But I knock on them with my team now. I don't like to go into a sales call. Let my team do that, because if I'm there and they ask for something, I have to give it to them.
Well,
Right.
Okay. So I have to.
I have that discussion all the time with some of my colleagues, where it's like, when you're the end of the line, it's like sometimes you put yourself in a hole because now you are stuck making the decision. And the people on the other end of the table, they know that.
Yes, they know. So there were times we'd fly to go Kansas City and go visit with Hallmark, for example. Use this for an example. And I'd go with our sales guy and I'd say, I'm not going in. I'm going to wait in the car. Because if they go, hey, we need 2% more, we need this or that, at least he can say, well, I have to find out.
Yeah.
And I could always say, yeah, we can't do that, because he could go back and tell him.
Yep.
But if I'm there, hey, we need this. Okay. Okay. You can't say no.
Yeah, always defer to a higher power.
He can, I can't.
well, here's another thing that I think it would really help your efforts. Because I'm a marketing branding guy. You've got this brand, you've got this style, you've got this identity. Even in the shop here, there's this flavor, no pun intended, with the way everything looks and feels. And I think as you're going out and you're selling, I think that with this packaging, and I don't know how long is the branding, the packaging remained the same, because consistency is a real important piece. But I'm sure that had to help. People recognized it.
It was always important, okay, that I always said, you know what, we're selling a product, we're selling chocolate, but you're building a brand. And, and you said about the packaging, we have our foil, our boxes are foil. They've been that way for a long time. Okay.
And they're gorgeous.
Okay, but this is gold. This one's red. This one's purple. We have all the different colors. And it's surprising that people will call and say, yeah, I'd like to put an order. I want 2 green boxes and one of those blue ones. Okay. They don't ask and say, right. Oh, I want pecanots. I want turtles. I want assorted creams. I want that green box. Somebody gave me a box. It was green. I want one of those. So that brand, that look is important. Do we change things? I think we change things. I don't want to say not on the lower end. That's not the right word. We redesign some packaging. We adjust some packaging. Pretzels, for example, we used to have a twist tie pouch, but it looked wrinkled on the shelf. So we went to a box. Okay, so they look nice and neat. So changes, tweaks, upgrades a little bit, but not our basic, assorted boxes, the gold, the blue, the red, yep. All those colors. They stay the same. Those foils that's our so-called image, our brand. So I don't think we could change that.
No, the other thing is people have become so receptive that they're identifying what's in the box by the color of the box.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
There's a lot of magic there in dollars that went into that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You sit there. Sometimes you just fall into things. Yeah. Okay. My dad wanted to, he made a top quality product. He wanted it. So at that time, gold box meant it was really good. It's funny, as way back when candy, I'm saying when we grew up, when my dad started, when you bought a box of chocolate, somebody else's, and some were foil wrapped in there, those were like, oh boy, those are the good pieces, right? Yeah. Well, not anymore, because you go to the club stores, the Walmarts, the things, and you see foil wrapped over there, and they're cheap. Okay, just it's not the same anymore. Yeah. Candy industries change. There's quality, and then there's price. Okay, which are two different things, and you see that anywhere you go. You can go to your Targets, your Walmarts, your stuff. When you go in the candy aisle, you see very inexpensive items. Inexpensive, I say. I don't say cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. But their cost is low. Why? Because they beat you up for price, and they assume you're doing volume. So.
Well, that's a great segue into a piece of the conversation that we were talking about before we got on the podcast, and you talked about cocoa and things like that and the impact. Be interesting to hear how you see all that unfolding. And again, you don't have a crystal ball either, but you got a big knowledge base sitting on your shoulders.
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit. Yeah. When I came into the business, at that time, you could buy people bought chocolate. Okay, you went to the company, and you go back, and I'll tell you, the best chocolate you could get your hands on was Nestle's was the company at the time. Okay, they manufactured chocolate that they sold throughout the industry, and they had a whole array of quality. They went from the top of the line. You can get to any and work downward. They made a variety of chocolates depending on what you wanted. So eventually, on the volume that we were doing, we got to the point that said, you know what? Well, and then Nestle sold to somebody, and things were getting to a point where, you know what? We need to do this. We're going to do this on our own. And my dad said, of course, you're crazy. We'll see. And so we went out, and you contract beans, okay, cocoa beans, and they're brokers for cocoa beans. And we got our beans from one specific location, and we never told anybody where it was because it was so limited, the amount of beans that we could get. And, fresh milk, there wasn't much in there, fresh milk, sugar, and of course, vanillin. We use it's called an artificial flavor of vanillin, because that vanillin gave our chocolate a unique aftertaste. It was good, okay? It makes you want to eat another piece. But anyway, so we did that, and we'd contract beans and do that. So that takes us back to your question now, because we're doing that, and we watch the market, okay, and see, Africa drives the cocoa market. That's where most of it's grown, 70%. In the last 2 years, whether it's weather-related, whether it's hedge funds, there's a couple different things, but weather, of course, which makes the crop reduced. So everybody's scrambling now for cocoa beans. So the market has gone over the last year and a half, and I'll just a random number, it went from 2,200, it's 6,500 today.
Wow.
Okay, so the price is going, and that's per ton, so that's 3 times. That's 3 times, which means that people are going to chocolate's going to have to go up, because you can't operate when something's 3 times. You can eat a little bit, but you can't eat 3 times. It's just, take anything on the market, take milk. If milk was $1, now you got to charge $3. You lose a lot of people that aren't going to buy that.
Right.
We're luxury. Okay, so we have to watch price-wise. Who can afford a luxury item? And we fight that with food costs, with gas. People aren't getting free money anymore. So in a sense, monies are tight. So the cocoa market is going to drive us crazy here to see what's going to happen, because eventually my cocoa beans my contract's going to expire, in a sense, where I have to renew and try to go in and negotiate a deal for cocoa beans.
And that's your thing.
Yeah.
You're a negotiator closer.
Yeah, but you know what? If you and I are fighting over cocoa beans,
Right.
okay, the highest bidder is going to get it.
Sure.
And there's a point where that's not going to happen. So, I wish I could predict the future of what's going to happen, but I'm not that good.
I mean, so obviously, I guess I would assume that you would, prioritize quality over price or quantity.
Absolutely. Every crop of cocoa beans, every batch is slightly different. It's like it's growing tomatoes in your garden. Okay, you still have the same seeds, and you grow the tomatoes, and the weather's different, and that tomato isn't as big as it was, or it's not as sweet as it was. But when you make your sauce, okay, your dad or your wife or your kids are going to taste it and go, let's do something that's a little different. Still delicious,
Yeah.
okay, but it's a little different. Our customers are so keen that there's some people that will pick up the little nuance of the chocolate, okay? And the beans, if they're grown, maybe they're not as light in color as they should be. So your chocolate shade is a little bit darker than it looks. There's just so many things involved. But our customers are so dedicated that they pick this stuff up.
Right.
Okay, and people that know, it's basically, you're growing something. It's not going to be the same. You're not manufacturing it. Mm-hmm. It's coming from the ground. So
They've come to expect a certain standard, a certain taste, a certain look.
absolutely.
I think it's awesome, though.
So do we.
Yeah.
Okay, we do this. We go in and sometimes we'll reject it. Okay, we don't manufacture the chocolate here. Our beans go to 2 different places. There's 2 manufacturing locations that are done there, and they make 100,000 pounds at a time. So 100,000 pounds comes out, and we go in and go, it's off, unacceptable.
And who's doing that quality control? Is that internally here?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we taste chocolate all the time.
I was just going to ask you, do you eat chocolate every day? You taste it every day?
I'm a binge guy. Okay. Like, I have pretzels right here. I can't eat. I'm not going to eat one pretzel. I don't. I'll start doing that, and I'll eat that all day. So I try not to, okay? Or I'll wait till the end of the day. I don't take candy home. Mm-hmm. No. I can't take candy home. Between me and my wife eats chocolate every morning for breakfast. Every single morning, she has chocolate and coffee. That's her breakfast. She doesn't. If it's not there, okay, she has it hid. She puts it somewhere. Okay, because we've been there, and we'll get an Easter egg, okay, and we'll put it out, and her and I will say, we'll eat an 8-ounce egg, her and I. It's not a lot. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But it's good.
It does taste very
Then
good.
you pop a couple metformin pills to cover the sugar.
I'm a diabetic. I am, so I watch. After eat a steak and eat chocolate. Just don't eat chocolate first. Yeah. It's a secret for a diabetic.
Ah.
Tell your doctor not to watch this episode.
Oh, he knows. He knows. They know. I take them chocolate when I visit. What do you think? But yeah, it's interesting all the way around in what's going on in the industry. Like I says, the people that we knew that my dad grew up with, the other candy makers, their sons and daughters and things like that, who are my age now, doctors, lawyers, okay, professionals, but didn't go into the candy business. Right. And all those little places, I called them little places, okay? Just like we had a little store. My dad was in his basement. there were people all over that and a lot of them were Greek that we knew. But then they grew up, the kids went out, they closed the stores. Okay. We grew, I don't want to say they shrunk, but they moved on. They retired. These people retired. They closed their store. They're gone. I could go name you 10 that were just in Pittsburgh alone. And what we didn't do, because they were friends, nobody went in the other person's territory. If somebody called and said, hey, I said, where do you live? I live in Ambridge. Oh, well, you need to go see this person here. They'll take care of you.
Gotcha.
We used to go to other people's candy place. They'd get a big order. They'd say, hey, man, I'm stuck. I got a big order. I got to do 200 Easter eggs. So Sunday, my dad would say, come on, we're going to go visit Harold. We're going to help him make eggs.
Wow.
This is what everybody did. They did that together. That was my dad's generation. Yeah. My generation, not so much.
More competitive.
Very much. Yeah. It became, it became more competitive in a sense that, that territory kind of, all it had to do was one person had to break the golden rule.
Yeah.
Right.
And once that was done, it was like no more. Yeah. So my generation, I have a lot of friends in the industry that I grew up with that are in candy business in different places. So we friendly? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you, family business, do you have any other siblings or is any other part of the family involved?
No. I have a sister. In a sense, we're partners. Mm-hmm. She owns all the buildings. So she gets her rent, she gets her sure. thing. So she's good. I have this end. My two daughters were in the marketing business. They end up having kids and all that, and had the luxury enough that their husbands were great and they could stay home. So they kind of got out of the thing. So, what are we looking at? What are we looking at for the next generation? Mm-hmm. We have a semi-plan, okay, in hopes that the kids, the son-in-laws, have an opportunity probably to come in. I have the other company, Gardners Candies, up in Tyrone, PA, that we bought in 1997. Wow. Because we were landlocked here. We couldn't, and we needed more production. They happened to be for sale. So we ended up buying them, kept the name. Literally, we made them look like sisters, like a clone. Packaging, the same packaging, in a sense, for some of the stuff. But up there, I had somebody running it, not a family guy. He retired. Next guy came in, and he just retired. And I just hired another COO to run that facility up there. So there's always somebody that can step in, okay? You just have to go look for the right person that can go take it to the next step, sure. Whatever that step may be. Do you sell it? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things on the table. You can sell. You can bring somebody in, which you bring another CEO in to run operations and do that. I've got great people here that a lot of the people here that are working now, the gentleman that runs this plant, the supervisors that run productions, they literally came from high school and never left.
Wow.
Never left. The problem is they're all in their early 60s, to sit there and we have people here 75 years old that are working, office people, and the great thing is the luxury that they have is their summers are off. Mm-hmm. We're peak, so they like it.
Oh, so you still close in the summers?
We don't close in the summer, but we go from peak where people will. We always said we could hire people that have children. You can drop your kid off at school, come to work, leave work, go pick your kid up and go. And their summers are off, so you don't have babysitters and you don't do that. So we have that type of employees that have they're part full-time seasonal employees, and they love it. If you tell them, hey, you got to work all summer long, they're going to say, forget it, I don't want it. We have these people bust their butts because our holidays, you just get pounded.
Sure.
Okay, with all kind of things, phones and things like that. So they love it. Do we have full-time employees all around? Yeah, we have people here producing all year long, but they want it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
They must love you guys, for one thing, the way that you must have treated them really well. And they love to be around this busyness, because that's what this is. I mean,
I hope
I'm sure
so.
people are hustling. Yeah.
I do. They do. I said they stick around. I said people are getting up in age that you still want to work? Yeah, I want to work. As long as I can work, I'm working.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, do they love it? Yeah. Are they dedicated? Yes.
Well, there seems like there's loyalty both ways.
It is.
You're super loyal to them. You want to treat them really well, and they're the way it's the impact I think that you have on people speaks volumes. If they've been here X amount of years, you just talk about the fellow who runs a lot of this has been here since high school.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. That's got to make you feel really great.
Been there, 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That speaks to the amazing culture you guys have.
Yeah. So it's, and that to me is the biggest concern right now, because these people are experts. You don't need to learn how to run a piece of equipment here. You need to learn about chocolate. Chocolate is so, especially good quality chocolate, is very difficult to work with. Okay. And you have to control temperatures, texture, crystallization. There's a chemistry involved in that. Okay. You can't fix it till it breaks. And you need to learn to maintain it so it doesn't break. And to get somebody to do that, these people come in here at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, start all the equipment, okay, for the people that come in that start work at 8 o'clock so everything's running, and then, then they shut down. We run one shift, that's all. Then they shut down. So they're here 10, 11 hours a day, and they're dedicated. It's very hard to find younger people to come in and want to do that. Are they out there? Sure they are. But we just can't find them all the time. And, so to replace the knowledge that these people have, that's the difficult task. It's the knowledge. It's knowledge, experience to do that. So
that is interesting. So, I mean, with that being said, though, you obviously have a great culture of people that stay here for 40 plus years. What does the future look like? Do you plan on, restructuring, rebuilding? Do you plan on more acquisitions? What does that kind of look like?
Well, we're growing. We're building a new production facility. We're going to start moving into it right after Easter, April. So we've got a lot of equipment we have to move. Okay, what are we doing? We want to be more efficient. We're not going to eliminate jobs, but we'll make jobs easier. Okay, we'll make things easier where we're not. In this building here, we're pushing stuff, putting in elevators, moving it, wrapping it, moving it back, doing out, getting it. There's a lot of movement here that's inefficient. Okay, and space now. Now in the new facility, we'll have all our lines in line where it'll be more automated,
Right.
Okay, and take the tedious tasks that we have to do now and eliminate those.
Well, that's a massive step.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, and I tell myself, am I that big of an idiot at 71 years old? Happy birthday to me today.
Yeah, and happy birthday to you.
To go
real.
sit there and take on this, $25 million project. So, am I crazy? Yeah, probably. We'll tell you in about a year. We'll see how crazy I am in about a year. But yeah, it's so we're doing bigger things.
Yeah.
One big question: in about, 1972, 73, somewhere around there, the movie Willy Wonka, the original one, came out. Did that have any impact on anything that you guys did, or is that just all fantasy and doesn't matter?
Honestly, I never saw the movie.
Really?
You're kidding me.
No,
Wow.
I wouldn't watch it. I don't know why, but I really never saw it. It probably had an impact on every candy people, okay, in that on the customer end, not on our end.
Right.
Okay, but I think maybe it put things in perspective. Like I said, I never saw the movie. I don't even know what it's about. I've been called Willy Wonka. Well, that's some of the nicer words I've been called. But,
Right.
you know, it's, no, I don't know if it would impact it at all other than people acknowledge that type of business. It's a candy business. Yeah. And there's a lot involved.
Yeah, there's a lot involved. And I want to kind of touch back again on the culture too, because you had brought up, you know, this amazing retention you have of employees over the years. And then you brought up the acquisition of, you said 1997 of Gardners Candy.
Yes.
So how important was the culture of that candy company when acquiring them? You know, like, and if you were to acquire other candy companies, is it more about the cultures or is it more about the product that they're producing?
Well, we needed production. So when we bought that company, they still had, they were still operating, but they had family issues and stuff that was personal. So it was, they wanted out.
Gotcha.
It needed a lot of attention, which we gave it. When I walked in the door, I got all the employees together and said, here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's your incentives. You're going to get health care. You're going to get 401k. You're going to get this. Okay. But, you know, need you full time. And I remember saying this. I said, I just want you people to know that I swear a lot. Okay. I don't yell. I said, but you may hear some things. And if you don't like it, whoever isn't going to like it, I said, I would prefer that you leave now because we're going to move in a different direction.
Sure.
And surprisingly, a handful left.
Are you serious? That's hilarious.
You know what?
That's a good thing.
We find out that you find out that, and do I want to say bad apples? Because yes, they weed themselves out.
Sure.
And your culture of employees weeds them out for you. Okay. And so we taught the people at Gardners to trust. Okay. And understand this is what Sarris is. This is the culture we're bringing to you. Okay. This is how we operate. This is how we do it. I literally went in there and I lived there for almost 2 years. Because I started from scratch, and it was amazing to go. People thought you were a suit was buying Gardners, and things were going to change.
Right.
Well, things did change, but I literally taught people how I like the floor scrubbed. Go in the kitchen. Here's how we're going to cook. Here's the recipes. I'm doing them. You know, and I'd spend all day in the kitchen cooking caramel, cooking this. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we make this. And, you know, people, you know, you go on the candy lines and you work with these people. Nope, this way. It's funny, a silly thing was there was a person there that at lunchtime for some reason, you know, candy comes down the belt and you pick it up and you put it in a box. Not hard, but tedious.
Sure.
Okay, to do that. So, you know, you kind of move them. But for some reason in the afternoon, that girl was having some issues, and I said, are you okay? And she says, yeah, she says, but, you know, this position isn't working for me. I says, are you right-handed or left-handed? She says, I'm left-handed. I said, you got to go put on that side. She got to be over there.
Right.
As far as problem solved.
Yeah.
But, you know, you look at these are the little things that
Right.
forget everything else. Isn't it something that's the thing that stuck with me after all that? Mm-hmm. Okay, things like that. It's the little things. But I did everything there. Tear machines apart. Get dirty. So people respected you. After that, they go, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, he knows what he's doing. We've got this.
I think when you you show that you're the rolling up your sleeves, I'm going to dive in, and you're there to make it better for them. You're not sending them backwards. When I worked in the architectural and engineering world, we did some acquisitions, and I know that whole transitioning component means so much to make people feel welcome and a part of. And you're right, though. There was a comment you made about, weeding out. That's a natural process, and that's a good thing.
It is.
I think that you gives you opportunity to focus on the people who are really invested in what's going on, and the other ones you're not wasting a lot of time. So I think it's smart.
You build that culture. It is. You build the culture. You build the trust, and make people enjoy working. Okay, let them be part of the success. They need to know that, because without them, you really don't have anything. I always say, if you go somewhere and I get an opportunity sometime to speak somewhere or something. Who do I thank? The employees. Okay, thank you for being dedicated, for being there, for doing it. Because without them, I work for my employees. Is that a good statement? I work for them. I work to make sure that they can do what they do. Okay, and that's it. They may say they work for me, but I work for them as well. So that we're partners. Okay, and I enjoy working with our employees. I visit. I don't get out of this office as often as I'd like to. I don't get to go in the kitchen, okay, and go cook or make something like I used to. I'll give you another little story. Caramel. When my dad made caramel, okay, he made caramel. Okay, and he had to make caramel, and you had to continuously stir the caramel. Couldn't stop. Hour and 20 minutes, just with a big spatula, cooking a batch of caramel. And then he'd whistle and say, "We got a dump." And you'd pick up the kettle and you'd pour it on a table and do that. That's when I said, "Yeah, Dad, there's machines, the cookers we can buy." And again, it seemed like back then everything was $25,000. $25,000 for a cooker. I don't know. It's not going to make it the same. I said, let's just try it. We'll see. I said, I already ordered it. I said, I already ordered it. Okay, it's coming. And, now more, you didn't even have to, you used carnation milk and cream, but the machine, literally, you had a thing on there that it automatically drip fed the cream into the caramel. So you didn't have to stand there at all. You literally go do something else and put a timer on. And come back and say, okay, ding, okay, let's go check it. It's ready. And I said, oh, my God, after years of sitting there stirring that kettle by hand with the wooden spatulas,
Yeah.
It's just something. So we've never changed, in a sense, the recipes. We just changed, creams, you mixed them. Again, everything was done by hand.
Sure.
You mix it. So what do you do eventually? There's a Hobart mixer now. You can sit there and mix your creams and mix your powders, mix your ingredients, and not change what you're doing or what the product tastes like, and do that. We've never done that. We just find an easy, I always tell people I'm pretty lazy. so and I say, no, you're not. I said, I am, because I got to find the easiest way to do something. Okay, so if that's, I'm lazy because I don't want to mix that by hand. Okay, sure. There's something that can do that. So if that's lazy, I'm really lazy.
Hey,
maybe we plug in the word efficient.
I was just
thanks.
about to say that's efficiency.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Have you guys invented, yourselves, any machines that are patented that do something specific with the candy? Or
we never patented anything, but again, years back in the late 70s, we needed chocolate lines. They called in Robers, and U.S. didn't make any. Went to Europe, found some, made a deal with a company, so they brought the machines over. But they were European machines. So there was some things on the machine that didn't work with our chocolate. So we literally redesigned that machine for the U.S. market. We've done that with a number of pieces, but patents, no. No, you went to the machines guys. We went to Italy and helped them with this machine and devised metering pumps, things like that can pump out. Some of the stuff we do by hand, like bunnies. I was talking about filling it up. Some stuff we still do that. So it's a metering pump. Say, okay, we need 2 ounces. Okay, and it does it automatically, which that machine didn't do before, and the company from Italy didn't even have anything like that. It took me a while for them to understand what I wanted. Okay, because you're talking to an Italian engineer that doesn't really speak English real well, and we're trying to draw him. I'm not a good artist. You're trying to draw him this pump, the device that's going to work. But yeah, we had done. You look back and go, I can't believe that we did that. So no inventions, yeah, probably patents, no.
Gotcha.
No,
that's pretty cool though.
No,
Still.
We didn't know any better. We made candy. We didn't know anything about patents,
Sure, or
designs or anything like that. No.
That Italian engineer, thank God he wasn't half Irish.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. But yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah. But you had talked a bit about the fundraising and how that kind of helped drive production. But I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I know that Sarris Candies and like your family has done a lot for, I believe, kidney research. Can you speak a little bit about that? How you kind of got involved in that realm?
Yeah, I can. When I bought Gardners in 1997, that same year, I had found a tumor on my kidney. So back then, they just took the kidney out. Mm-hmm. So I was the first one. I had the kidney removed. Then all of a sudden, my dad had issues. He ended up getting a kidney transplant. My dad's sisters, 4, all died of kidney disease.
Are you serious?
Runs in our family.
Jeez.
See, like that, it's hereditary, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So it's hereditary. So when that happened, my dad was, again, health, culture, okay, education. Those 3 things were so important to him. And there's a list of things that we supported. UPMC, there's a Frank Sarris transplant clinic, okay, that helps people after the transplant. And boy, it's a place for them to go. It's beautiful, okay, and I can go down the list. And and my mom has to get in the picture too. So there's the Athena Cafe that's there next to the transplant clinic where people get free coffee, cookies, chocolates. Free, okay, while the families are there and they're doing stuff, at least they're getting a little treat or something. That's at UPMC. Canonsburg Library, Frank Sarris Public Library. Education, important. We don't own the library, naming rights.
Gotcha.
Okay, but people think, oh boy, that's my library. It's not. It's naming rights. We supported at Canonsburg, and we did that. Going down the list, Phipps Conservatory. They named it Orchid after my dad. There's the Orchid Room there. There's also my Athena Sarris Center where they have their events. It's Athena Sarris Event Center. I could go down the list.
I'm glad you're mentioning all this because our listeners, our viewers, may not even have known any of that piece of the story. We've captured, how this thing started and where it progressed and a little bit maybe what the future looks like here and there, the big investment you made in a new production facility, things like that. But this philanthropic side, isn't it amazing how once you're successful and once you can do some things where your heart kind of sits, now you can inject this philanthropic angle and really do some amazing things through chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, really? There's a picture up there of my dad and a whole list of things that we supported that really didn't. It wasn't like for recognition where you sit there and you got this big thing. Washington County Humane Society. It's my dad. I always said my dad loved his name in lights. He was a sales guy.
Yeah.
Okay, he wanted his name in lights. There's the Frank Sarris lobby at the Humane Society. He did that. There's the my sister's Zoe's room at Western Psych. Okay, there's that. I mean, I just keep going and go millions and millions of dollars. Okay, that sometimes don't get. I don't want to say we want acknowledgement.
Right.
Okay, we get it. Okay, people, we get it when people go in there and see some of the stuff, or they go see, and you see the name there and do that. So,
Well, I think this helps plant the seed for other entrepreneurially spirited people to think beyond in ways to help beyond what it is, the product or service that they offer. It's amazing the impact that you can have.
yeah, well, let's go back to the originally, the kidney thing was important after that to support them. We have a family member that has MS. So, MS research and things like that, people don't realize. I don't need to tell people what we've given. I don't need that recognition.
Yeah.
I don't need that. You're sitting there, you're supporting a cause. I don't need to put it in lights. Okay. And some of the stuff that we've done, that's, again, I'm a background guy. I not necessarily do that like that. But yeah, that's when I say my dad was a salesman. He was a good guy. He cared about people.
Yeah.
He really did. Okay, he cared. Again, that education thing bugged him more than anything. Okay, so it was important for him to make sure he supported all education, research. Okay. Again, there's just so many, but that was important.
That's crazy.
Was he very adamant about all of his kids going to college then?
Education was important to him. Yeah, like I said before, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're not going to do this. That's the family background, that we came from. Okay, from the grandparents and all that was, hey, work hard, you're going to go be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. He says, but doctors better, lawyers don't trust. That was my grandfather. But you can be a lawyer, but doctors better.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
something.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah. So real quick, before I ask that question,
Yeah.
though, I just have one other kind of question I think our listeners would really enjoy. Is that, so you talked about how your dad was a sales guy and you sold to corporations, large orders, people come in the store and buy, but obviously a big part of your business right now is the e-commerce sales. Like when I order, this is actually my first time in this physical location. I buy candy from you, but online. When did you kind of jump into the e-commerce space and how has that helped drive business in a good or bad way?
Back with, again, fundraising at one time drove our business. And we had gone into, I had went and talked to an agency. And the guy passed away, but I always remember his name was John Juno. And he's the one that says, hey, there's some new things going to start happening. He says, number one, you need to have a website. I don't know what a website was.
What year was
You need
this?
an email. This was just when things started kicking. In the 80s?
95.
Okay, so that's you have the website. He says, but at that time it was mail order. It wasn't online. So he says we're going to do a thing. It's going to be candy store in your mailbox. I made a brochure that we mailed to people. So that really kind of led into, oh boy, this is what's going on e-commerce. So we started online. Did we boom with it? No, we didn't, because people didn't have email addresses. People were just learning as well as we were. Okay, but it grew as well. Okay, because people, transients, okay, that left Pittsburgh, that were our customers and moved to Florida or South or even just moved away for jobs, could now order candy online and get it delivered to your home. where you couldn't visit. So they had that opportunity. So a lot of that drove the website. That's that drew the online sales. So that was key. Again, kids leaving, growing up. Okay, they move, they go to college, they were able to go online and buy chocolate. So
that was like being at home then. It was a familiar product, familiar package, familiar everything, now available at your doorstep. Pretty nice.
Yeah, I said it grew from being a mail order thing. You know, we still have a mail catalog. We still mail catalogs, but you're driving people online, you know, and that takes, you know, we have a number of areas that we do business, you know, fundraising. We have our retail store, our retail vendors that grew. Okay. You know, a lot of our customers, Hallmark, Giant Eagle, Shop and Saves, we made it convenient for people to get our product. Okay. And again, it's brand awareness. Okay. And it sells. So, you know, the vendors are happy. We do something different in our stores. We manage this. We'd say, you give us the space, we'll manage that space. You don't need an employee. You don't need to do anything other than ringing them up when they leave. So we have this program, you know, a retail program, a vendor program that we do. That's been growing, okay, and expanding. You know, your fundraising is shrinking because there's door-to-door things. Can't do it anymore. You know, it's just, it's the business, a fundraising business is changing. So, you know, your other areas grow. I always say our business is like a hand. You know, you have fundraising, you have retail, you got your retail store, you have wholesale, you got private label. You can lose a finger and still golf. That's the best explanation. Okay, but if you lose the hand, not so much. Okay, finger, you can still shoot a low score. Hand changes the ball game. So, you know, we spread out in some areas, and it's a balance.
Right.
It's a business balance of what we do to build our brand.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. So Bill, we really appreciate you coming on. And before we wrap up the episode, we always ask all our guests one question. And that question is, if you can give one word of advice to a young entrepreneur or someone who wants to start a business, what would that be?
Brand. 2 words. Think brand. Yeah. There's a lot of words, though. Think about it.
He's a marketing guy.
It depends. Depends which direction you want to go.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you need to build yourself. Yeah. Or it's a brand. Okay.
Cool.
Self. One other word. Self.
Brand and self. I like that.
You know.
That's good.
Hard work, I guess. I don't know.
This was a spectacular interview. I love the story.
This is fun. You don't realize how much. There's so much that we've done, okay, and so much background building to where we are. And, you know, you just hope that there's an opportunity for beyond. Okay, which there is for somebody. You know, for somebody, something that will continue the legacy that my dad started and we built. So
the really cool thing for us is through Boss Juice, we're able to capture and share this story. And there might be little pieces that you shared with us that no ears have heard up to this point. So we appreciate you taking the time this morning.
This is fun. Yeah. You know, I enjoy it.
Good. Well, we're glad you had fun, and it's been a pleasure. Like Sean had said, I think our listeners are going to benefit greatly from hearing your story and some of the advice you've given. So we really appreciate it.
Did I give advice? Don't listen.
There were some good takeaways that I learned today that you know, definitely benefited me. So I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it as well.
Wow. I thank you guys for the opportunity.
Hey, and you offered up these amazing chocolate pretzels, which
you can go for it.
My mouth has been watering for the past hour. So yeah, we're gonna hit these.
Right.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.